right, welcome to the show, Jason Bible, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. Oh man, the excuses out there to do nothing are amazing to me. I'll tell you, I am coming up with my own excuses right now. I really want to get on the bike, but it is 107 outside. Now, if this were Central Texas, where there's not as much humidity, I'd be out there, but 107 on the bike with this humidity is brutal. In fact, I was in one of our mountain bike groups on Facebook, and this guy essentially rescued this gal from severe dehydration yesterday and heat exhaustion at a minimum, maybe even close to heat stroke. So it is a little warm out there to be doing your training in the middle of the day. So I'm making my own excuses right now, so I'm not exempt from my own rant. But it's amazing to me that people can just not do stuff. Like cowards choose inaction. Now, they'll justify it to sound smart, but the reality is they're just justifying their cowardice. Jason, what's going to happen in the marketplace? The market's going to crash, and I'm just going to sit on the sidelines. I'm like, dude, I've been listening to your nonsense since 2010. And you're still at the same dead-end job, doing the same miserable nonsense that you have been for the last 12 years. Like, your life is exactly the same. Too scared to get out and do something. Now, you go out and justify those things with this incredible amount of research. No, I read this guy, and he says this, and I read this guy, and they said that. He said this is going to crash, and that's going to crash, and everything's going to crash, and the world is going to end. Like, if it's really that bad, why do you keep showing up at these real estate events? Why do you keep commenting on these threads? For 12 years, you've said the world is going to end. The big crash is coming. I'm going to be able to get everything for 25 cents on the dollar. Well, here we are 12 years later. Where are you at? A buddy of mine, Walter, put a hilarious meme out there on Facebook. And I can't remember what the picture was, but it said, last month my house lost 1% of value, but over the last 3 years, it's up 50%. It's so ridiculous to me. These are also the same people that have lost 30% in the stock market and don't seem the least bit concerned. Most of your stuff in your stock portfolio doesn't produce dividends, so you're not getting any cash flow off of it, and you've lost 30% of your net worth. Yeah, Jason, but it'll go back up. Yeah, that's true. Just like the Bitcoin guys. I read a depressing post today in one of our men's groups. His crypto portfolio is down 80%, and he has millions in crypto. Well, now he's got less millions, but he was like, I should have taken your advice, cashed out at least some of it when it hit 60K, because I thought it was going to go to 100, and now it's at, I don't know what it is today, 2021. Let's pull up BTC. 19.8. What's our year to date here? Yeah, it lost 58% year to date. And the last year it lost 40%. Absolutely insane. Now the 5-year, it is up 600%, but you guys didn't even know what cryptocurrency was 5 years ago. So let's just be honest about that. Oh, Jason, this is the other thing I love on Facebook. If you had just put this much money back in Bitcoin this year, you would have made $1 gazillion. Yeah, but there's 1 million of those things out there. In fact, Peter Schiff likes to point out there are 20,000 other cryptocurrencies. Oh, Bitcoin has no competition. Yeah, it does. It's got 20,000 competitors. There aren't even that many currencies in the world. That's what I think is so funny about this whole Bitcoin thing. Is everyone talks about, no, it's valuable because it's scarce. No, that's not true. There are 20,000 other coins. It has 20,000 competitors. There's a fun little fact I read years ago. You guys know I'm a car guy. So one of the coolest cars to come out in the early 2000s was the Lexus IS 300. And if you've not seen one of these things for a while, Google it up. It's a neat car. It had It was Lexus. It was a little. I think it was a straight six, if I'm not mistaken. A little 3-liter 6-cylinder, very similar to the naturally aspirated Supra. I don't think it was the same engine. I think it was a little bit different, but straight six, great car, super reliable. One of their entry-level luxury cars. And it had two really cool things. The seats were leather seats, but the inserts on the seat, like the insides of the seats, were suede, which was kind of cool for a car back then. And the speedometer, or the dash, if you will, the instrument cluster, looked like a chronographic watch. Really, really sexy, and it's aged really well. It's still a very pretty car, and the interior is aged really well. It looks good. Very few cars age that well, but it looks good today. Like 20 years old, still looks like a great car. In markets outside the United States, it's called the Altezza. That's where those tail lights came from. It actually came from that car. But in any case, really cool car. So it's a 4-door sedan, and then they made one called the Sport Cross, which was a wagon. And the wagon is even cooler. You know, it's just like got a wagon back on it. So the wagon is kind of in high demand. Now, here's the interesting thing about the wagon. They made more Bugatti Chirons than they did this wagon. So why is the Lexus IS300 Sport Cross not $5 million like the Bugatti Chiron is? Because there's few of them out there. It's scarce. There is a group of people that are willing to buy those things. But why isn't $5 million? Well, simple. There's just nothing to demand for it. Bitcoin's kind of the same thing. But you see this, oh, Jason, the whole world's going to end, you know, because there's a recession and the real estate market's going to crash. I read a hilarious article today. Active listings are up 48% in certain markets. Actually, I think that was nationally. I had to pull the national data up. I think we're up to like 500,000 houses in inventory right now. Well, 2015, which was still a seller's market, had 1.5 million. It is amazing to me how short people's attention spans are. And I think it's because they never look at the data. They read the headline, but they never look at the data. They never do the analysis. They just read the headline and run around like their hair's on fire. I don't know if it's to be provocative online or people really think this way. But look at it this way. It's your money. You can do whatever you want with it. But I'll tell you, when you get down to the data and you pull the emotion out, then you could start making investment decisions like an intelligent investor. Because otherwise, you're just trading on emotion. And you can do that. In fact, that's how most people live their lives. Most people live their lives one emotion to the next. Does this make me feel good, or does this avoid making me feel bad? I mean, that's really why people are in the places they're in, because they're either trying to make themselves feel good or avoid the pain. We get back from the break, we're going to talk more about the marketplace. Jason Bible, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. All right, welcome to the show. Jason Bible, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. I'm actually shopping right now. This is probably not the best use of my time here on this show. I'll just say this, I'm up to something. It's probably the best way I can say it. Got a really interesting deal that came across. How can I put this? It's one of these deals where Rob and I have talked about it on the radio show for years now. If you've listened to the show, we've had this idea about building something and in a certain marketplace. And we may have that opportunity here. Rob is actually going to look at it today just by sheer happenstance, just happened to be close by. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, It's going to be a bit of a challenge because we're headed into a recession. I firmly believe we're in a recession now. Almost to the point where if we don't get a negative GDP print for Q2, I'm going to throw my arms up and say, okay, now we're manipulating the data. Because the earnings reports that are coming out of corporate America in the capital markets from places like Walmart, Target, Restoration Hardware, I haven't looked at Apple's numbers, but Apple, Nike, like all those companies are citing in their financial reports, in their earnings reports, that, hey, we're entering a tough season. I mean, friends of mine that work in corporate America are already having conversations with COOs, CEOs, and the rest of the executive team about, okay, we know the world is changing. We're headed into a recession. What do we need to do to best weather the recession, to protect our margins and to protect our market share? Like, that's really the discussions that are happening in boardrooms in the executive suite all across the world. Because when America goes into recession, so does everybody else. I mean, that's just kind of how it works. In fact, China got so serious, there was an article last week. They've dialed up quantitative easing. They are going to print money. They're going to print those dollars. So we are about to enter. This is one of the reasons I've said, hey, interest rates don't really matter because rates are coming down. You've got two options, Federal Reserve. You can either fight inflation or you can fight recession. And here's what I know. People don't mind paying more for stuff as long as they have a job. And I know we got a really great job report this past week, but I'm kind of calling BS on the job report. I'm not buying some of those numbers in there and the jobs. There's still something squirrely about the jobs report. But jobs are a lagging indicator of the greater economy. By the way, all those jobs reports, just like the GDP numbers, get revised about a month later. So we'll see what the revision looks like here in about a month. So one of the things I always hear is like, well, Jason, with interest rates going up, house prices are going to go down. And I'll say, when has that ever happened? Well, you understand, rates go up, prices go down. No, they don't. Show me where that's happened. In the world's worst fight of inflation, meaning interest rates skyrocketed, was late 70s and early 80s. And house prices kept going up. It wasn't like 1982. Yay, inflation's over, Paul Volcker wins. And all of a sudden those houses got repriced back to 1974. That's not what happened. House prices continued to rise, even though they were paying 18 and 19% interest. I also don't believe increasing rates is going to stop inflation. This economy is way more complex than it was in the 80s. Way more complex. However, let's set that aside. Let's say, okay, how do we fight inflation? Well, the traditional school of thought is the Fed funds rate has to match the rate of inflation. And I think we'll get the CPI print tomorrow. If you guys are hearing the show, it would actually be today, if you're listening to it on the radio. So I believe the CPI numbers come out Wednesday. So the Fed funds rate, if we let's pull up Shadow Stats. So in Shadow Stats, they track the government numbers and then they track their numbers. The official CPI-U is sitting at about 9%. The SGS alternative, or alternate, which is based off the 1990 data, how you assessed inflation, is sitting at about 15%. So your Fed funds rate would have to be at like 15. Well, let's, for the sake of argument, say somewhere between 9 and 15. Which my guess, that would put the 10-year at what? 12? 13%? Which would put mortgages at like 16? So, I mean, it's somewhere. We could sit there and kind of tinker with the math a little bit, but your mortgage would be between 15 and 20%. And yes, real estate prices would still rise. Why do we know that? Because it's exactly what it did in the 70s and 80s. So if you're sitting there on your hands, worried, just sitting there sweating in your cubicle right now or in your car because rates are going up, and that means the real estate market's going to crash. Show me when that has happened. Real estate and interest rates have, from a pricing standpoint, have nothing to do with each other. Now, will sales slow down? Absolutely. They will slow down, and they have slowed down. Thank God. We needed some breathing room here. I read this report, Austin, Texas, inventory has doubled. They had 0.8 months of inventory. A normal market, a healthy market, has 6 months of inventory. We don't see price reductions until 10 months of inventory. Austin, Texas could have had 10 times as much inventory, and there still wouldn't be reductions in prices. Like, this market is so hot, I don't think people really understand the problem that we have. We do not have enough housing. It's like that game. I can't remember the game. What's the game with all the chairs? And then there's like one less chair than there are people, and you're like running in a circle. Musical chairs, right? So this is like musical chairs. There's 10 chairs, and there's 100 people trying to get into a chair. That's what it was like a year ago. You know what it's like now? 10 chairs with 50 people running around. It's still ridiculous. It's absolutely insane. And it's only going to get worse. This is the funny part. Jason, there's this inventory coming on the market. Yeah, people are starting to move. It's good. It's starting to slow down a little bit. Thank God. This market was so crazy for so long. We need more inventory. We only have like 500,000 houses available in the marketplace across the country. We need to, 2015, which was still a crazy seller's market, had 1.5 million houses on the market. And it was still a crazy marketplace. We need more inventory. Now, here's what's going to happen. Rates are coming down. It's Jason Bible, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. All right, welcome back. Jason Bible, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. Rates are coming down. I'm positive they're coming down. I think they're going to come down by the end of the year. If I had to put money on it, it's definitely going to come down by 23. We are about to hit prime election season. Once the midterms are over in November, it's election time. The campaign starts, the primaries get started. That all happens right after November. And nobody wants a recession in an election cycle. Now, I am sure they're trying to pin this on Putin. You know, evil Putin. I guess Putin forced everyone to print money in the United States. I don't know how he did that. Putin, this must have been what it was. Because Trump and Putin were in cahoots. Putin must have released the COVID virus in China and then called Trump and said, okay, dude, here's what you got to do. You got to print a lot of money, like a lot of money. And then you need to get like these stimulus checks, and you need to make sure everyone gets a stimmy checks. And then while at the same time, the same group of people you tell, hey, don't pay your mortgage or your rent. And then Trump goes, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Well, then what's going to happen, Putin? Oh, inflation is going to run rampant. Because you're going to lose the election. That's the funny part. He was in cahoots with Putin, rigging the election of which he lost, which I find hilarious. Then you're going to come back in 24, and you're going to help fight inflation that you caused. Like all of this stuff makes no sense. You ought to see the stuff people send me on Facebook. Some of it is hilarious. Like Trump is colluded with Putin to get all this inflation. And then the oil stuff. And I mean, Trump has been sent into complete, exile from Twitter and everyone. I don't even know if I haven't seen the guy in forever. I don't know what he's doing. But that's what they're going to do. They're going to blame inflation on Putin and Trump. Although Trump he kind of does own some of it. I'll tell you that. I don't know what Putin inflation is, but evidently we've got that. So that's what they're going to do. So all this stuff is Trump's fault. Boom, boom, boom. Although Trump is he's got to be 74 now? 74, 75? He ain't running again. I'm just going to tell you guys that right now. Now, he'll play the game. 76. He ain't running. Reagan was 80 when he got into his last term, I think. 81? I'm trying to remember. He was not a spring chief.
77 at the end of his presidency.
Oh, 77. So he wasn't quite 80 when he finished his presidency. So the reality is Trump ain't coming back. Like, it's just age-wise, he ain't coming back. I know everyone thinks, Trump's going to come back and whip the country into shape. Not going to happen. There's going to be a lot of talk about it. And there'll be a lot of kiss the ring, kingmaker stuff to see, who Trump picks. And, of course, half the GOP's like, oh, God, don't pick me. Can you just be quiet for a little bit? You're not even allowed on Twitter anymore, or Instagram. All that stuff was fun at some point, but now we got to do, serious stuff. The country is really in peril at this point. This is, when inflation runs rampant like this, what does it do? It hollows out the middle class. And you could see it. I saw some Consumer Report data this morning from credit card companies. And they break up their discretionary income on credit cards by type of, how's the best way to put it? Type of good, transportation, groceries, that sort of thing. And we are seeing gas prices have an absolute impact on lodging and entertainment expenses and all that sort of stuff. That's just going to happen. But truth be told, if you really think a president's going to come in here and fix any of this stuff, you are horribly naive. We had Paul Volcker. He worked for 4 different administrations, Democrat and Republican. He was an adult and walked in and said, we're not doing this anymore. I've got a great article somewhere that talks about all the other stuff Reagan did. He broke up the air traffic controllers. Went through and busted out all of these labor unions that were causing huge price swings in the labor market. Now, whether you like that or not doesn't really matter, but it was absolutely contributing to the inflation epidemic that we had in the 70s and 80s. There was the oil embargo and all the work that had to get done there. But I don't see anybody, at least right now, that's even got a shot of winning the executive branch that acts like an adult. Whose campaign did I see the other day? It was Guns, Babies, and Jesus. And I was like, okay, that's kind of funny. And then I looked at it, I'm like, oh no, they're serious. That's what they're going to run on. That's what they're going to run on. We have zero risk of losing any of our gun rights. I can tell you that. That ain't happening. Democrats can squawk all they want about gun stuff. They know what happened to Clinton in the midterms. They are not going to touch that gun. Now, they'll play like they'll put some legislation out there, but they'll never be able to pull the trigger on it. That's kind of funny. Yeah. They'll never be able to pull the trigger on it because they know they'll just get absolutely obliterated next election season. So that ain't happening. The whole babies thing, let's be honest, that's completely out of any president's or any elected official's control. That's all got kicked to the Supreme Court, which, of course, that legislation came down the pike, but that's not getting changed anytime soon. And then Jesus, I don't know what you do legislatively with Jesus. I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. Do you write him into stuff? I'm not sure how you do that at a national level. So that's one of your GOP candidates that should be taken seriously. Everyone's taking this person seriously. And I'm just like, this is it? We got some real complicated problems to solve here. And, one of the things I always did like about Trump is wherever he went, he was in a suit. Because that's his uniform. I always thought it was interesting that all politicians do it. You know, when they go out to the Midwest, they're in jeans and a white shirt, and it's like trying to, commune with the common folk. Sometimes they put on those dopey accents. There's a ton of clips from Hillary Clinton doing this, and it's hilarious. It's hilarious and embarrassing at the same time. But these people aren't adults. We've got real adult problems. We've got a trade deficit that is wildly out of control. We have something called a whiplash effect. You guys are about to see this pretty soon here. I saw an article, read an article yesterday, $40 billion of goods are sitting offshore because they can't get them into the port fast enough. So imagine this. You're a retailer that has bought all of these goods. Prices are sky high, but you're paying those sky high prices because you've got demand. There are people that want those goods. But soon as those goods hit shore, what happens? We're in the middle of a recession. Prices start to fall. Now what? You paid record high prices to producers. Those are people that actually make the goods for your retail location. By the time they make it to your store shelves, the demand is gone. This is actually what's happened. I want to say at Target has addressed this issue already. They went in the middle of the season. So right now it's summer. So what do you sell summertime? Patio furniture and swimsuits and all that other nonsense, right? And I promise you, I don't normally talk about retail because I find it incredibly boring. I really like hospitality, but I find retail pretty boring. But this is a bellwether. This is the canary in the coal mine for a recession. Our consumer spending, that's 70% of our GDP. So Target, in the middle of the summer season, said, cut the prices on all of our patio furniture, all our summer stuff, blow this stuff out now. And Target, if there's one thing Target's done the last 10, 15 years, is run a pretty good business. So Target has already said, get rid of this stuff because we see something on the horizon. It's Jason Bible, Texas Real Estate Radio Network.
One more.
All right. Welcome back. Jason Bible, Texas Real Estate Radio Network. So what did Target do? Target looked at the horizon and said, hey, something's not right here. Get everything out the door. Adjust our supply chain. In fact, Peloton came out with a news article today. Peloton is getting obliterated, by the way. They let a ton of people go. They're finally going to outsource their manufacturing. I didn't know they were doing manufacturing. I would have never done that if I ran that company. Just outsource. There's plenty of really great companies out there that can build high-end sports equipment. Why you would choose to do that, I have no idea. But anyway, so they're, what did they call it? Resizing their supply chain. They had some goofy term I'd never heard of before. But everyone's recognized, hey, something's changing. We need to make some changes. Now let's go into the real estate side. One of the reasons you are hearing all this squawking about real estate markets crashing and all that is because real estate agents and mortgage companies and title companies, insurance companies and home warranty companies, anybody associated with the purchase and sale of real estate in the retail residential space are all hurting right now. They are getting shellacked. Inventory is down like 80% over the last 5 years. So there's not enough homes to sell. So they're running around screaming about a real estate crash. The problem is you as an investor interpret that as, oh, a real estate crash? You mean like prices are going down? And they're like, no, sales are down. Wait, prices are down? No, sales. A lot of people don't know the difference between prices and sales. Prices are down? No, sales are down. Well, wait a minute. Prices are up. Yes, prices are up and sales are down. Wait a minute, how does that work? Well, there's not enough homes to sell. So the total number of sales are down. Wait a minute, so prices keep going up? Yes, because there's not enough homes to sell. Simple supply and demand. We've had a massive reduction in supply. So correspondingly, what does the price do? It goes up. So when you go to these real estate meetings, when you talk to real estate investors and entrepreneurs, and you need to first recognize who this person is that you're getting advice from. Oh, they own their own little real estate brokerage. Well, of course they're freaking out. There's no homes to sell. That's why they're freaking out. There's a reason EXP stock, let's pull up EXP stock real quick. There's a reason EXP stock is where it is. It's down 60% year to date. Why? Real simple. The market has said, woo, not a lot of agents selling and buying homes because there's just not a lot of homes to buy and sell. What's Redfin at? Redfin announced huge reduction in force, meaning they fired a bunch of folks. Redfin is down 72% year to date. Why? There's no houses to sell and buy. Period. Let's see what their 5-year is. Yeah, they're down 60% in the last 5 years. Yeah, what's crazy is that was $100 a share February 19th, 21. And now it's $8. Ooh. Eee. Let's go back to EXP. Oh, EXP's down 60%. Oh, in the 1 year. Oh man, all you guys that had all that EXP stock, there it is. February 12th, 2021, $78 a share, and it's down to $14. Ooh. Probably should have bought real estate with some of those shares, boys. You know, everybody forgets the most important lesson about investing, and it's real estate, it's Bitcoin, I'll tell you, it's the most important thing about just about anything. You got to take some profit. Folks are asking, we're selling, I think, 15 million or 20 million in real estate right now. And a lot of people are asking me, like, why are you guys selling? I mean, you shouldn't be selling. I'm like, we're taking some profit. Rob and I got to get paid. I got beach houses I need to write checks for, and, Lambos ain't free. So at some point, we got to start taking some profit. I got about this close, you guys can't see me, this close to buying another office building on the west side of town. We weren't going to call it the real estate center. It was just going to be an investment for us. Beautiful building, beautiful. Needed little tenant improvements on the second floor. Fantastic deal. We're looking at a deal right now. We're going to need some more capital to go do it. It's a really interesting deal. My guess is by the time we get done with it, $5 to $7 million just in construction. Somewhere in that ballpark. We're looking at some other opportunities in the hospitality space. It's one of the reasons if you guys saw my Facebook and Instagram, my girlfriend and I were doing Sunday Fun Day, which is a blast. I love my favorite day of the week to go out these days is Sunday afternoon. It is so much fun. Start at noon, go over to Poor Behavior on Sundays, and it starts out, it's got a brunch thing. Now, here's the problem. You don't have a reservation, you're probably standing at the bar. So I'm just going to tell you, it's just that crazy. So get your little res, get your little four-top, you and another couple, and get ready for the party to get started. DJ starts spinning, the mimosa towers start coming out, and it's like a club at 1 on Sunday afternoon. So I'm all around town doing all this stuff because I'm also learning the hospitality business at the same time. Went over to that new bar, Todos, whatever it is. I can't even pronounce it. It's the old Concrete Cowboy across from Kung Fu. I had a great time, ran around town, went over to Uchi. Now, this was interesting. When we got to Uchi, we actually got a table. If you guys know Uchi, I swear the only way to get in there is with a reservation. It's kind of a pain. But we were doing this tour of sushi places, so we're going to all the top sushi places in town. So over to Uchi, had a great time. But it was weird because I'm like, what, they got a table? Maybe that means the world is ending or something. I don't know. It was like 6 o'clock on Sunday, so that was probably part of it. But the theme of today's show is there's a lot of reasons to be a coward and do nothing. These are the times when people look back and say, it was a challenging time. We had interest rates through the roof. Mortgage companies were closing. I just saw another mortgage company just got rid of like 2,000 people. Where was it? Let's see. Let me pull up NBS News. It was a huge reduction in force. Maybe it wasn't 2,000. How many was it? No, I don't see it here. I can't remember where I read it. Let me pull it up real quick. Sprout Mortgage is gone. Those guys just got wiped off the face of the earth on like on an afternoon. Man, I cannot find it. Oh, here it is. Loan Depot to fire another 2,000 workers as mortgage market implodes. These are the people that are saying the market's ending. I'm like, no, that's not what's going on here. So you could read all this stuff and not be an investor. But here's what I'm telling you 5 years from now. You're going to look back and go, hey, that was some challenging times. I mean, mortgage companies were closing left and right. Mortgage rates were through the roof, but real estate was still appreciating 10 to 20% a year. And we bought everything we could. And 18 months later, because this is exactly what's going to happen, we're going to be in a recession. The Federal Reserve is going to walk in and lower rates again. They will be lower than they were the last time. We're going to see 30-year mortgages in the twos. And I'm telling you, in our careers, we will see 0% mortgages. Why? Because every recession that we fight, we lower rates. It's like clockwork. So you're going to be refinancing these things pretty soon here. And you're not going to want to have waited until they cost you 20% more because they've appreciated 20% even though the rates are going up. So it's up to you. Your money. You guys can do what you want. But I'm telling you, sitting on your hands while everybody else is sitting on their hands is probably not the best strategy. We get back from a break. We have a short message. This is Jason Bible, Texas Real Estate Radio Network.